Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Tavern of Tales. If you like my tales, then I'm sure you'll like these as well. Now, I won't bore you with the details, so without further ado, let's get on with it.
The Boy in the Attic. When 12-year-old Ethan Cole moved into the old house on Willow Street, his mother told him the noises were normal. Old houses creak, she said. Ethan wanted to believe her. The house had been built sometime in the 1920s. It stood alone at the end of a narrow road, surrounded by dead-looking pine trees that seemed to lean toward the roof. The previous owner had left in a hurry, abandoning furniture, dishes, and even framed family photographs on the walls. Ethan's mother, Laura, had gotten the place cheap after his parents' divorce. To her, it was a fresh start. To Ethan, something about the house felt like it had been waiting for them. His bedroom was on the second floor. Directly above it was the attic. And every night at exactly 2:13 a.m., someone walked across the ceiling. 3 steps, pause. 3 more, pause. Then something dragged slowly across the floorboards. Scrape. The first night, Ethan pulled the blanket over his head. The second night, he recorded it on his phone. The third night, he showed his mother. She listened to the recording. Nothing, no footsteps, no dragging, only Ethan's breathing. I swear it was there. I believe you heard something, Laura said. Probably squirrels. Squirrels don't walk like people. Laura smiled. Go to sleep. A week passed. The noises continued. Then Ethan began hearing something else, whispering. At first, he couldn't understand the words. He would wake in darkness and hear a voice coming through the ceiling. A child's voice, soft, dry, almost playful. One night, Ethan pressed his ear against the wall. The whisper became clear. Ethan! He froze. The voice repeated his name. Ethan. He slowly looked toward the ceiling. Who are you? Silence. Then, come upstairs. Ethan didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next morning, he asked his mother where the attic entrance was. Laura pointed toward the upstairs hallway. There's a hatch in the linen closet. Why? Just curious. Don't go up there. The inspector said some of the flooring is rotten. Ethan nodded. But that afternoon, while his mother was at work, he opened the closet. Behind towels and blankets was a small wooden door built into the ceiling. A string hung from it. Ethan stared at it. Every instinct told him to leave. Then something knocked from the other side. Knock. Ethan stepped backward. Another knock, knock, knock. Then a boy whispered, Please. Ethan swallowed. Are you stuck? Yes. The answer came instantly. Ethan grabbed the string. He pulled. The attic door dropped open. A folding ladder unfolded toward the floor. Dust drifted down. Above him was complete darkness. Ethan grabbed a flashlight, then climbed. The attic smelled like wet wood. Boxes filled the room. Old toys, broken furniture, Christmas decorations. At the far end sat a rocking horse facing the wall. Ethan slowly moved his flashlight across the room. Hello, nothing. He stepped forward. The floor creaked beneath him. Then his light landed on something scratched into one of the wooden beams. Daniel Cole. Ethan stared. Cole, his last name. Underneath were dozens of tally marks. And beneath those, Dad says I have to stay up here. Ethan's heart started pounding. He moved the flashlight lower. Another sentence. Mom doesn't know about me. Another. I can hear my brother downstairs. Ethan backed away. His father didn't have a brother. At least not one Ethan knew about. Something moved behind him. Ethan spun around. The rocking horse was now facing him. He hadn't touched it. Then he heard breathing. Not above him. Not below him. Right beside him. Ethan slowly turned. A boy stood behind one of the support beams. Maybe 11 or 12 years old. Thin, barefoot. Wearing filthy pajamas. His skin was gray. His dark hair hung over his eyes. Daniel? The boy smiled. You came. Ethan's flashlight began flickering. How do you know my name? Daniel stepped from behind the beam. Because you're my brother. Ethan shook his head. No, ask Dad. My dad doesn't live here. Daniel's smile disappeared. I know. Ethan felt cold. What happened to you? Daniel pointed toward the floor. He left me. Ethan looked down. One of the floorboards had been pulled loose. Something white was visible underneath. Ethan crouched, then immediately stumbled backward. Bones. Small human bones. A child's skeleton had been hidden beneath the attic floor. Ethan screamed. He ran for the ladder. Daniel suddenly appeared in front of him. "Don't leave me again!" The attic door slammed shut. Darkness. Ethan screamed and threw himself against it. "Mom!" Daniel began crying somewhere behind him. "You promised." "I never promised you anything." "You always say that." Ethan stopped. "What?" Daniel's voice moved closer. "Every time you come back." The flashlight flickered on. For half a second, Ethan saw Daniel standing inches from his face. Then darkness again. Ethan kicked the attic door. Once, twice. On the third kick, it burst open. He fell down the ladder and crashed into the hallway. The attic door slammed shut above him. Ethan ran downstairs and outside. He waited on the front lawn until his mother came home. When Laura pulled into the driveway, Ethan rushed toward her. "We need to leave." She stared at him. "What happened?" "There's a body in the attic." Her face changed. Not confusion, not disbelief. Fear. Ethan noticed immediately. "You knew." Laura said nothing. "You knew." She grabbed Ethan's shoulders. "Get in the car." "Who is Daniel?" Laura went pale. "How do you know that name?" "He said he's my brother." Laura began crying. "He isn't." "Then who is he?" Laura looked toward the house. "Your father's brother." That night they stayed at a motel. Laura told Ethan everything. When Ethan's father, Michael, was a child, he had an older brother named Daniel. Their father was abusive. Daniel would sometimes hide in the attic to escape him. One summer, Daniel disappeared. The family claimed he had run away. Nobody ever found him. Years later, Ethan's father inherited the house but refused to live there. Eventually, the property passed to Laura during the divorce. "I didn't know his body was there," she whispered. "Why didn't Dad tell anyone?" "I don't know." Ethan looked at her. He said Dad left him. Laura said nothing. Ethan's phone suddenly vibrated. A notification. Motion detected. Ethan's bedroom. His mother had installed security cameras after the move. Ethan opened the app. The bedroom was empty. Then something dropped from the attic hatch. A barefoot boy. Daniel. He landed silently. He looked directly into the camera, then walked toward Ethan's bed. He reached underneath it and pulled out another boy. Ethan stopped breathing. The second boy looked exactly like him. Same pajamas, same hair, same face. The duplicate struggled as Daniel dragged him toward the attic. Before disappearing through the ceiling, Daniel looked at the camera. His lips moved. Ethan turned the volume up. Daniel whispered, "Wrong one." The feed went black. Police searched the house the next morning. They found the bones. DNA testing later confirmed that they belonged to Daniel Cole. But detectives found something else beneath the attic floor. Dozens of drawings, all made by Daniel. Pictures of the house, pictures of his family, pictures of himself trapped in the attic, and hundreds of pictures of another little boy. A boy who looked exactly like Ethan. The strangest drawing showed Daniel standing beside him. Underneath were the words, "My brother always comes back." The drawing was dated 1987. Ethan hadn't been born until decades later. His father was called in for questioning. Before police could reach him, Michael Cole disappeared. His car was later found abandoned outside Willow Street. The front door of the house was open. Police searched every room. No sign of Michael, except for the attic. There, investigators found new scratches carved into the wooden beam. Dad came back. Underneath it, "Now we can be a family." The house was condemned. Nobody has lived there since. But neighbors still report seeing a boy watching from the attic window. Sometimes one boy, sometimes two. And according to the family who lives across the street, something strange happens every night at exactly 2:13 a.m. 3 footsteps. Pause. 3 footsteps. Pause. Then something dragging across the attic floor. But last week the sound changed. For the first time someone knocked on the attic window. The neighbor looked up. Ethan was standing behind the glass. He raised one hand, pressed it against the window, and mouthed 3 words, "Don't let us out."
Boarding House Cult, original horror story. 28-year-old Melanie Carter had planned a simple vacation. Drive through the mountains, take photographs, visit old landmarks, then continue on to the coast. Late one afternoon, she arrived in a quiet little town called Briar Falls. It looked peaceful. Old brick buildings, friendly shops, a beautiful hotel overlooking the town square. She smiled. Maybe she'd stay one night. The hotel lobby buzzed with travelers. Behind the front desk stood a handsome man in his early 30s, wearing a black vest and silver name tag. Jerry Hawkins. "I'm sorry," he said apologetically. "Every room is booked." Melanie sighed. "Every single one?" Jerry nodded. "There's a festival this weekend." She thanked him anyway and turned toward the door. An elderly woman sitting quietly in the lobby spoke. "I couldn't help overhearing. My boarding house has one empty room." The woman smiled warmly. "My name is Esther Whitmore." Melanie hesitated. Esther looked kind, almost grandmotherly. "I only charge enough to cover meals." With nowhere else to stay, Melanie accepted. The boarding house sat at the edge of town. It was enormous, old, 3 stories tall. Dark ivy climbed the walls. Inside lived 6 long-term tenants. Most barely acknowledged Melanie. One man, however, stared. His name wasn't offered. He watched her from the staircase, from the dinner table, from the hallway. That night, he finally spoke. "You shouldn't stay." Melanie frowned. "What?" "You don't belong here. You need to leave this town." Before she could ask why, he walked away. The next morning, Melanie wandered through town. She ran into Jerry again. He apologized once more for not having a room. They laughed, talked, shared lunch. The next day, dinner. The day after, a walk around the lake. Jerry was funny, kind, protective. Melanie found herself falling for him. For the first time in months, she felt genuinely happy. The strange things began. She woke one night. Her bedroom door was open. Someone stood in the darkness, perfectly still, watching. She blinked. The hallway was empty. The following morning, everyone at breakfast stared without speaking. When she left the house, every tenant watched through the windows. She told Esther. Esther chuckled. "Oh dear. These old folks are harmless. Don't pay them any attention." Melanie tried. But every night, something happened. Whispers outside her door, footsteps overhead. Her belongings moved. Someone breathing outside her bedroom. One evening, Melanie stayed at Jerry's house. They cooked together, watched old movies. Eventually, she spent the night. Around 3 in the morning, she awoke. A hallway door stood open. Curious, she walked toward it. Inside, the walls were covered with photographs, pictures, maps, newspaper clippings, names. Every tenant from Esther's boarding house, including her. Beside them, several locked gun cases. She backed away. A floorboard creaked. Jerry stood behind her. "Melanie, it's not what you think." Terrified, she ran. Jerry chased after her, but she drove away before he could explain. For days, Melanie ignored every call, every text, every knock on her bedroom door. Jerry disappeared from town. The strange man still watched her. But now, even Esther had changed. She smiled less, spoke less. Sometimes Melanie caught Esther standing outside her bedroom late at night, listening. One night, Melanie woke to chanting. She looked out her bedroom window. Her blood froze. Behind the boarding house, dozens of people stood around a roaring bonfire. Every one of them wore long black robes, their faces hidden beneath hoods. They formed a circle. Esther stood in the center, holding a knife. The chanting stopped. Slowly, every hood turned toward Melanie's window. She ran. They caught her before she reached the road. Someone struck her from behind. She awoke tied to a wooden chair beside the fire. Esther removed her hood. Her sweet smile was gone. "We've been waiting for someone like you. 12 before you. You'll complete the circle." The cult members began chanting again. One stepped forward with the knife. Melanie rocked the chair. Harder, harder. Crack! The chair tipped over. The rope scraped against a sharp rock. She twisted free. Then ran. The cult poured into the forest behind her. Branches snapped. Torches lit the darkness. She stumbled. Someone grabbed her arm. She screamed. It was the strange tenant, the same man who'd warned her to leave. "Come with me." Before she could react, Jerry burst through the trees. "Move!" Gunfire exploded. Bang, bang, bang. Several cult members fell screaming. Others scattered. Red and blue lights suddenly flashed through the woods. Police, sheriff's deputies. Then, SWAT teams surrounded the cult. Within minutes, everyone was on the ground, handcuffed, including Esther. Melanie stared at Jerry. "You lied to me." Jerry nodded sadly. "I had to." The strange tenant stepped forward. "My name is Randall Henderson. I'm with the FBI." Jerry smiled. "We've both been undercover." The boarding house was the center of a missing persons investigation. 12 people disappeared over the last 6 years. We needed proof before we could move. Melanie looked toward Esther being led away. "The cult." Jerry nodded. "They performed rituals on outsiders. You were chosen next." 4 years later, the trial lasted nearly a year. Every cult member received life in prison, including Esther Whitmore. The investigation uncovered the remains of all 12 missing victims buried beneath the old boarding house. Jerry Hawkins and FBI Special Agent Randall Henderson received national commendations for dismantling one of the largest ritual murder cults in the state. 4 years passed. Melanie never returned to Briar Falls. She married Jerry in a quiet ceremony surrounded by family. On a warm spring afternoon, she stood on the porch of their home, one hand resting on her pregnant stomach. Jerry wrapped an arm around her. "You okay?" She smiled. "For the first time in years, I finally feel safe." Far away, the old boarding house sat empty, waiting to be demolished. Workers entered the basement one final time. Behind a crumbling stone wall, they found a small wooden plaque, freshly carved. It listed 12 names, but underneath, a 13th line had begun. Only 2 words had been carved before the police shut the building forever. "See you."
The Crypt Beneath Blackwood House. Nobody in Greyhaven thought Dr. Elias Blackwood was dangerous. That was exactly how he wanted it. Blackwood lived alone in an enormous Victorian house at the edge of town, where the paved road gave way to forest and fog. He was in his late 50s, tall and thin, with neatly combed gray hair, round glasses, and the calm voice of someone who always seemed interested in what you had to say. He donated money to the local hospital. He repaired neighbors' appliances for free. He gave science demonstrations at the high school. And whenever someone new moved into town, Blackwood was usually one of the first people to introduce himself. "Everyone needs a friend in a new place," he liked to say. People trusted him. Unfortunately, friendship was only the first stage of his experiments. The missing. Over the years, people occasionally disappeared around Greyhaven. A traveling salesman, a college student passing through town, a woman whose car had broken down, a construction worker, a hitchhiker, even a few locals. There was never enough evidence connecting the disappearances. Some had told friends they were leaving town. Others had unstable lives. A few simply vanished. Nobody noticed that almost all of them had encountered Dr. Blackwood shortly before disappearing. His method was simple. He never kidnapped strangers from dark alleys. He befriended them. Blackwood would invite people to dinner, offer them work, help repair their cars, let them stay in one of his guest rooms. He learned their fears, their families, their medical histories, their weaknesses. Then, when they trusted him completely, he drugged them and carried them downstairs. Beneath Blackwood House was a laboratory that didn't exist on any blueprint. It had originally been a wine cellar. Blackwood had transformed it into something else. Steel tables, medical equipment, electrical generators, chemical tanks, surgical instruments, cages, recording devices, and shelves filled with hundreds of notebooks. Blackwood believed fear could cause the human brain to produce chemicals capable of changing the body's tolerance for pain. He believed memories could be erased. He believed death itself was simply another biological problem waiting to be solved. Most importantly, he believed normal laws didn't apply to extraordinary men. His victims became experiments. Some were deprived of sleep. Others were exposed to experimental drugs. Some were subjected to sensory deprivation. Blackwood recorded everything: pulse, temperature, brain activity, fear response, time until unconsciousness, time until death. And when an experiment failed, Blackwood disposed of the evidence. Behind a concealed stone doorway at the rear of the laboratory was something much older than the house: a crypt. The property had once belonged to a 19th century family whose private burial chamber had been constructed beneath the hill. Stone tunnels extended beneath the house. Small chambers lined the passageways. Some contained ancient coffins. Others were empty. Blackwood filled those, one body at a time. He wrapped his victims in sheets, carried them through the tunnels, and sealed them inside unused burial chambers. Then he wrote their names in his notebook. Not because he respected them, because scientists labeled their specimens. For almost 15 years, nobody discovered him. Then 4 teenagers made the mistake of becoming his friends. Or perhaps Blackwood made the mistake of becoming theirs. The Greyhaven Four. Marcus Reed, 17, was the kind of teenager who questioned everything. Tanya Brooks, 16, was fearless enough to enter places other people avoided. Eli Navarro, 17, could repair computers, cameras, phones, and almost anything electronic. And Sophie Lane, 16, noticed things everyone else missed. They had been friends since middle school. One October afternoon, their science teacher announced that Dr. Blackwood would be speaking to the class about experimental neurological research. Blackwood entered smiling. Science, he told the students, begins when someone refuses to accept that something is impossible. Marcus whispered to Eli, "That sounds like something the villain says before the movie gets bad." Eli laughed. Unfortunately, Blackwood heard him. Instead of becoming offended, the doctor smiled. "You have good instincts." That was how it started. Blackwood began talking with the 4 after school. He showed them old scientific equipment, helped Eli with a robotics project, loaned Sophie rare medical books. Tanya became fascinated by Blackwood's stories about the history of Greyhaven. Marcus remained suspicious. One afternoon, Blackwood invited them to his house. "You're welcome to see my laboratory sometime." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "You have a laboratory in your house?" "A small one." That wasn't true. Nothing about Blackwood's laboratory was small. The teenagers arrived Saturday afternoon. Blackwood House looked strange up close. Its exterior was beautifully maintained, but the forest around it seemed unusually silent. Inside, the house smelled of polished wood and old books. Blackwood served them dinner. They laughed, talked about science, watched old horror movies. Blackwood played the friendly, eccentric professor perfectly. But Sophie noticed something. A photograph hanging in the hallway showed Blackwood standing beside another man. The man looked familiar. Sophie stared at it. "Who's that?" Blackwood looked over. "Former colleague." "What happened to him?" "He moved away." Sophie nodded, but she remembered seeing that face somewhere else. Later that night, while everyone was in the living room, Sophie searched her phone. Then her stomach dropped. Dr. Warren Vale, Greyhaven researcher missing since 2018. The photograph showed the same man. Sophie showed Marcus. He immediately wanted to leave. Tanya wasn't convinced. Maybe they worked together before the guy disappeared. Marcus whispered, and Blackwood just forgot to mention his colleague mysteriously vanished. Eli glanced toward the hallway. "We should look around." Marcus stared at him. "That is exactly how people die in horror movies." Tanya smiled. "Then stay here." Marcus sighed. "I hate you people." While Blackwood stepped outside to retrieve firewood, they searched the first floor. Nothing. Then Eli noticed a locked door behind the kitchen. The lock was electronic. That's weird. For a basement? Tanya asked. For any room inside a Victorian house. Eli removed the faceplate. 30 seconds later, click, the door opened. A staircase descended underground. Marcus whispered, "We are officially making terrible decisions." They went down. At the bottom was another hallway. The smell changed. Bleach, chemicals, something metallic. They entered the laboratory. Nobody spoke. The steel table in the center of the room told them enough. Leather restraints hung from its sides. Machines surrounded it. Glass containers lined the walls. Sophie found the notebooks. She opened one. Subject 27, age 34. Fear response increased after 19 hours. She turned another page. Subject expired. Another notebook. Subject 31, another. Subject 32, hundreds of pages. Hundreds of experiments. Tanya whispered, "Oh my God." Then Eli noticed the wall. Photographs, faces. Some had newspaper articles beside them. Missing, missing, missing. Marcus stepped backward. "We're leaving, right now." A voice came from the stairway. That would be disappointing. They turned. Dr. Blackwood stood at the bottom of the stairs. No smile, he held a syringe. The experiment. Blackwood locked the laboratory door. "You shouldn't have come down here." Marcus stared at him. "You invited us." "I invited you upstairs." Blackwood stepped closer. Tanya picked up a metal tray. "Don't come near us." Blackwood smiled again, but this smile was different. Cold. "You're frightened." Marcus said, "No kidding." "That's good." Blackwood glanced toward his equipment. "Fear makes the body extraordinary." Sophie whispered, "You killed all those people." Blackwood tilted his head. "Killed?" He seemed genuinely offended. "I studied them." Tanya shouted, "They're people." "They were opportunities." Blackwood slowly raised the syringe. "And so are you." Eli suddenly threw a glass container. Blackwood ducked. Marcus slammed into him. The syringe went flying. Tanya grabbed Sophie. "Go!" They ran deeper into the laboratory. Blackwood hit a switch. Steel shutters slammed across the exits. "You really shouldn't run." His voice echoed through speakers. "It ruins the baseline readings." Marcus looked around. He built the basement like a cage. Eli pointed toward another doorway. The crypt. They ran inside. The underground tunnel was enormous. Stone walls, arched ceilings, old burial chambers. Some doors were centuries old. Others looked new. One had blood around the edge. Tanya stopped. "No." Marcus grabbed her. "Don't open it." But Sophie already had. Inside was a body wrapped in plastic. Then another chamber. Another body. Another. Dozens. Sophie began crying. Marcus stared into the darkness. How many people did he kill? A voice echoed through the tunnel. Enough to learn from. Blackwood was coming. The teenagers ran. Blackwood knew the tunnels. They didn't. Lights began shutting off behind them. One by one, darkness chased them. Eli pulled out his phone. "No signal," Marcus shouted. "Flashlight." The four continued deeper underground. Behind them, footsteps. Slow, calm. Blackwood wasn't running. He knew they had nowhere to go. Eventually, the tunnel split. Marcus stopped. "Everyone listen." Blackwood's footsteps echoed through the crypt. Tanya whispered, "What?" Marcus looked at the burial chambers, then at the heavy iron doors. "He thinks we're trapped." Sophie understood first, so we stopped running. Eli smiled nervously. "And make him chase us where we want him." Marcus nodded. "We turn his experiment around." The hunt they separated. Blackwood entered the chambers several minutes later. Empty. He smiled. Very clever. A sound came from the left tunnel. Blackwood followed. Tanya ran past an intersection. He chased her. She disappeared around a corner. Blackwood turned. Nobody. Then something moved behind him. Marcus threw a stone. Blackwood spun. Another sound from the opposite direction. Sophie. Then Eli. The teenagers began using the tunnels against him. Every echo, every doorway, every shadow. Blackwood became angry. "You're accomplishing nothing." No answer. Then Eli's voice came through Blackwood's own phone. "Actually, we're learning." Blackwood froze. His phone was missing. Eli had taken it during the struggle. Marcus called from somewhere in the darkness. "Heart rate increasing, doctor." Tanya laughed. "Fear response." Blackwood's face changed. For the first time in years, Dr. Elias Blackwood was afraid. He ran back toward the laboratory. The teenagers followed. Blackwood reached the main crypt chamber. Tanya dropped from behind a stone pillar and hit his arm with a wooden board. The syringe fell. Marcus tackled him. Blackwood punched Marcus away. Sophie threw a lantern. It shattered against the floor. Darkness. Blackwood screamed, "Stop!" Then Eli turned on the emergency lights. Red bulbs illuminated the crypt. Blackwood stood in the center, surrounded. Marcus, Tanya, Sophie, Eli. Blackwood backed away. "Your children." Marcus smiled. "You didn't think that mattered 10 minutes ago." Blackwood charged them. Marcus moved aside. Tanya shoved him. Eli grabbed his coat. Sophie kicked the back of his leg. Blackwood stumbled backward into one of the empty burial chambers. Marcus slammed the iron door. Blackwood threw himself against it. Bang! Tanya grabbed the locking bar. Together, the 4 teenagers dropped it into place. Clang. Silence. Then Blackwood laughed. "You think you've won?" Marcus stared through the small opening. "You buried people down here." Blackwood smiled. "And eventually, someone will come looking for you." Eli held up Blackwood's phone. "Already sent the location to the police." Blackwood's smile vanished. The teenagers headed toward the stairs. Then Blackwood shouted, "Wait!" They stopped. For the first time, his voice didn't sound controlled. "Don't leave me here." Tanya looked back. Blackwood's hands gripped the bars. "You are going to do exactly that to us." "No, you said we were opportunities." Blackwood's breathing became faster. "Open this door," Sophie quietly said. "What's your fear response now?" Then they left. Police reached Blackwood House 20 minutes later. The teenagers led officers underground. Investigators discovered the laboratory, the notebooks, the photographs, the crypt, and dozens of bodies. Blackwood was arrested. At least, that was what was supposed to happen. But something strange happened before police reached his chamber. When officers opened the crypt door, Blackwood wasn't inside. There was no second exit, no hidden passage, no broken wall, nothing, only his glasses on the floor, and something written across the stone wall. Not with paint, not with chalk, scratched deeply into the stone. Subject 43 underneath. Fear. Response excellent. Nobody knew who had written it. Police searched the tunnels for 3 days. They never found Blackwood. Eventually, investigators discovered something else. Some of the oldest burial chambers beneath the house had been sealed long before Blackwood was born. One had been opened recently. Inside were 6 skeletons. But according to historians, that chamber had been sealed since 1891. Nobody should have been able to enter it. On the wall behind the skeletons were hundreds of tally marks. And beside them, we waited for someone like him. Blackwood House was demolished the following year. The laboratory was destroyed. The underground crypt was filled with concrete. Marcus, Tanya, Eli, and Sophie eventually graduated and left Greyhaven. They rarely spoke about what happened. But every October, on the anniversary of the night they escaped, each of them receives the same anonymous message. No phone number, no sender, just 4 words. The experiment isn't finished. For years, they assumed Blackwood had survived, until Sophie received something else. A photograph. It showed Dr. Blackwood, older, terrified, standing inside a dark stone room. Behind him were dozens of figures. Men, women, all wearing the clothing they had been buried in, all staring at Blackwood. And scratched into the wall above them were the words, "Now he's our subject."
I hope you enjoyed that. I know I did. Well, if you're interested in more stories, then you know where to find me. I'll be here drinking and talking with my comrades as always. Until next time, friend.